Sorry, it takes a few seconds to like connect.
Mhm.
It's loading. Oh, there we go. Great. Okay, I'm gonna hit record and then we'll get started. All right, welcome to Life's Not Linear. My name is Tara, and today I get to interview Ramsey. If you could please give us a little introduction and tell us about yourself and a little bit about your journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tara. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So my name is Ramsey Moorman. I have been with Verizon for 18, going on 19 years. It was actually my first major job. Started actually in college, believe it or not, as a greeter in a retail store, just looking for some gas money. I was in University of Delaware, just trying to make some extra gas money, and I joined a temp agency, and they placed me as a greeter in one of our retail stores in Wilmington, Delaware, and just loved the environment of getting to meet people and kind of engage them while they were in waiting. And that kind of speared off into an opportunity to actually join Verizon full time as a customer service representative. So that was my first iteration of an actual job with a career and benefits. And as I kind of understood the nuts and bolts of the organization, I quickly realized that sales was kind of the foundation, especially in retail. And so I was asked if I'd be interested in doing a sales position at a mall, and I had no sales experience. Obviously, I was still, in college, and said, "Yeah, let me try this out." And what I quickly realized in sales is it's not necessarily what you're selling, but how you're engaging and understanding the people and how to solve a solution, whatever that is, and believing in the product helps a lot. So really enjoyed the sales environment, and quickly kind of dove into, okay, how can I actually make this a career? And got a leadership position when Circuit City partnered with Verizon back in the day. Maybe it was around 2004, 2005. They did a store within a store initiative, and that was my first position of management. I oversaw 3 people, and it was a store within a store kiosk. And I really enjoyed teaching and engaging those individuals that I was able to hire on the ways of Verizon, the products that we sell, and how to engage our customers. And that then segued into an opportunity to lead a full-time store. And so in Newark, Delaware, I stood up a brand new location called Centerpoint in Newark, Delaware, as a general manager, overseeing, probably 20 employees, and, playing a whole different hats with operations and sales and budgets, all these different things. And so really, really enjoyed that. And so that journey was between 2002 and 2008 as a store manager, between greeter and store manager. Retail quickly was taking a toll on me physically. I had since graduated, so now I'm all in. So I graduated from University of Delaware in 2003. And, I said, I need to kind of slow down the pace. And a peer of mine had made the transition from retail into business, B2B. And so he said, you should really come over and think about doing business to business. You're dealing with, enterprises and small businesses as opposed to, retail location. And so I applied for that position in 2008 and got it. And I was overseeing actually government accounts at the time, the state of Delaware. And that was a completely different animal. Now you have nights and weekends off versus retails when you are actually working. And you're dealing with government contracts and municipalities, police stations, fire stations, state and local, and it's a whole different genre of client. And I really, really enjoyed it. Did that for about a year and a half. Then I moved into small business, which is a little bit different because with small business, you can be a little bit more flexible in terms of the contract vehicle that you use versus state and local government. So that was kind of a different animal. Now you're into negotiations, and just continued to push my way through Verizon, and had the opportunity to deal with enterprise sales as a major account manager. Major account managers are responsible for enterprises that have local presence. So for example, if you think of Microsoft, they obviously are a nationwide company, but have offices located in a specific region. So that was an area that I wanted to delve into. But at that particular moment, I was going through a personal issue where I was ready to walk away from it all, as long as it allowed me to kind of relocate and go, find myself in a different location. So I decided to make the hard decision to move from Delaware to Maryland, primarily for personal reasons, but was blessed to be able to transfer and stay with Verizon in that time period. So in 2010, I moved from Delaware to Maryland, and I was able to get that major account manager position. The biggest challenge in that was, from 2002 to 2010, I talked about my journey. I was building a lot of contacts, a lot of credibility, right? I had a lot of stake in people kind of knowing what my brand was. And now I had to take that, leave it alone, and restart completely fresh in a different region, different leadership. And thankfully, I was able to take my skills and kind of build from the ground up and build my brand in the Baltimore, Washington, Virginia region, and continue to kind of accelerate my career there. So I started as a major account manager. Then we did something called a client partner, which was kind of an upscale major account manager, just another level up. And so I did that in 2013. And then I was blessed to be able to lead a team as a managing partner. Managing partner is somebody that actually oversees client partners, which is my current position today. So I've been in this role since 2017. I currently lead 7 client partners, geographically located pretty much on the East Coast, 4 in Florida, 1 in Maryland, and 1 in North Carolina, and another one in Virginia. And it's been a huge blessing. It's probably my most favorable position, because now I'm in a leadership position. I'm dealing with Fortune 500 companies, and I'm really building my brand and understanding the nuts and bolts of the business side of the enterprise Verizon branch, which is known as the Verizon Business Group. So I think 11 jobs total from 2002 to now, half in retail, half in business. And again, part of my journey was making the hard decision to put myself first, but being blessed to be able to stay with a fantastic company, Verizon, and make that transition and learn how to navigate new waters.
That's incredible that you've been with Verizon for so long, and it started like when you were first in college as well. What kept you, like, why did you want to stay with Verizon? Because that's super awesome that, like you just said, from 2002 to now, 11 different jobs with the same company.
Yeah.
So what was it that like kept bringing you back or kept you?
Yeah, there were three major things I would say. First and foremost was the culture. I just felt like I belonged. I felt like there was a family. I feel like there was a clear direction. There was a sense of pride in working with Verizon. Very diverse in terms of different people that you engage with, from age groups to different demographics, so on and so forth. And I always felt encouraged. So when you're working for a culture where you feel encouraged, you feel seen, you feel heard, that really helps. The second part was the size and scope of Verizon allows you, like I mentioned, to reinvent yourself, right? I started in retail, brick and mortar, and now I had the opportunity to deal with state and local government, which is a different animal. And now I'm dealing with enterprise Fortune 500 companies. So within the same company, it feels like I'm different. I'm working for different companies based on the clients that I'm accustomed to. And if I wanted to, I can go in out of sales and do operations if I wanted to. I can go into marketing. And so the size and scope of Verizon allows you to reinvent yourself. So it doesn't feel like you're doing the same job, or even that you're with the same company, which allows you to stay fresh. And then the third is just technology, right? I mean, cell phones have evolved tremendously. I remember when we were trying to encourage people to text message. Now, you don't have to encourage anybody to text message. Text messaging is like breathing, right? So just the evolution of where technology is going from a connectivity perspective, I remember when the iPhone first came out, and that was a big deal with no buttons, and being part of a company that's literally part of innovating the way we live and touch and feel life is rewarding. And so anytime I say I work for Verizon, everybody instantly gets it. I don't have to really explain. Maybe I explain what I do with Verizon, but not necessarily the company of Verizon. And so those three things: the culture, the technology, and being able to reinvent yourself at any given point was why I stayed.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that about Verizon. And kind of going off the message of reinventing yourself, back when you were thinking of making that move to Maryland and when you were going through that like personal moment, how were you able to balance like a very difficult uh time in your personal life with like working full time and making all these decisions? Like what kinds of things or what advice would you give to other people who are also trying to make a tough choice or get through something?
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So for me, it was, who am I and what's important? I spent a lot of my time trying to impress other people. And I felt like I was defined by other people, what people thought, what have you. And that, goes all the way back to high school. And so for me, it was trying to, trying to take a step back and say, who is Ramsey Moorman and what does Ramsey Moorman care about? And so when I had that pivotal moment, I realized that I needed to, go into literally reinvent myself by changing my environment, which is why I decided to move to Maryland. I had family and friends there, metropolitan area, so on and so forth. And once I came to the conclusion of what Ramsey Moorman wanted, then I can look at work and see where does that fit in with my personal goals and my professional goals. It wasn't about trying to impress anybody anymore. It was, where's my journey and where does Verizon or any company fit into that? And then that forces you to prioritize how much time you're investing in work, how much time you're investing in family, how much time you're investing in your health. And when you map out that priority, then you can figure out, to your point, where the balance is. I was a workaholic when I talk about my journey from 2002 to 2010, just trying to move up, and because work defined me, but it wasn't fulfilling enough, right? So once I became to be fulfilled and understood who I was, then work became a means to fulfill what it was I wanted to desire. And I didn't put so much pressure on myself to succeed, as opposed to what kind of impact am I having on society, and leveraging my work experience to marry that. And so what I would encourage most people to do is work at a place that allows you the flexibility to be who you are. Make sure that you're not forcing it for a paycheck, because a paycheck's not going to make you happy. It's what impact are you having that that paycheck allows you to, exaggerate, if you will. And then literally put pen to paper on what your priorities are and where does work fit into that. Are you working for a company where culturally you feel satisfied? Are you working for a company where you can see where your next step, is? And are you working for a company that allows you to have a life outside of work, if that's what your desire is? And how does that, play itself out? Which is a lot of reason why I had to move personally from retail to business, because all my nights and weekends were taken out in retail. And for me, that was unhealthy. So I had to kind of figure out how I take my talents and move it to a different section of business to be fulfilled. And don't be afraid to take risks, right? Moving to Maryland when I was leaving, my trajectory of promotion was a huge risk that I was willing to take because I put myself as a priority. And in doing so, I didn't lose anything, right? I was myself. I'm now healthy mentally, and engaged and encouraged. And now I took that energy and just placed it in another region and was able to repeat what I was able to do in Delaware.
Wow. So thank you again for sharing that, because I think it really helps right now myself, and I think anybody watching this, to kind of reflect as well and ask themselves like the right questions, and like you said, like calculated risks. One thing that I like, that you hear sometimes, like the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, and sometimes it does work out that way, where like the risk is worth it. And I think that was really powerful for you to kind of to be able to like, step back and see that maybe you really liked retail because you were a workaholic, but when you step out of your like workaholic mindset, is it what's best for you?
Right.
These are a lot of questions and just like types of reflection that I feel like I myself wish I would have done in high school or early college. And now it's becoming more talked about. And I think it's super important for other people to like ask themselves these questions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I talk to my team a lot about emotional intelligence, which I think is a very, very key component to being successful, not only in life, but professionally. And there's four key components to that. There's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and then relationship management. But that self-awareness piece is so critical because you have to be aware of what is driving you and what's making you tick, and you have to be honest with yourself. And then managing that self-awareness is critical. And when I say manage, you know, sometimes we have an emotional side to us, right? And then we have an irrational side to us. And sometimes they click and sometimes they don't. And so you got to balance out where your emotions, where your heart lies, and then where's that rational piece come into play. And then really try to map them out together to make a sound decision. From moving from Delaware to Maryland was purely emotional, but then I had to map out and say, you still got to provide for yourself, right? So what does that look like if you're going to uplift yourself? And that's why, making sure I put the key components on, can I stay with Verizon? Can I make connections? Can I still continue this pathway in order to fulfill my emotional side? That balance allowed me to be successful in my current position.
Uh, so I want to thank you again for talking about emotional intelligence too. I think this is just really great for leadership at these bigger companies to be talking about these things because as like me or people who are just coming out of college, I think these are super important things, um, like things that we want checked off and like yeah, I'm looking for these things in a company, and one of them is like valuing emotional intelligence. Um, so putting your college student hat on and thinking about college students today, what is a piece of advice that you'd want to give them as they are embarking on the search for their next career?
Yeah, listen, I made a lot of mistakes in college. I had three majors. I first came in thinking I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. That wasn't flying. Then I wanted to be communications. That wasn't flying. And then I'm in junior year. I'm like, I got to buckle down and choose something. And so I landed on business, specifically economics, for me because it was broad, right? Business is kind of broad. And, if you understand the economics, you can really go in different facets. But I think one of the main things I would say is understand that whatever you choose from a major perspective, take it seriously, right? You have the social aspect of college, but you also have the educational side. Take it seriously. I didn't my first year. The second thing is whatever you decide to invest in from a major perspective, try to figure out how it matches what you're really good at naturally and where your heart's at and what actually can pay the bills as well, right? If you're into music, for example, take obviously music classes, but also take business classes because you got to understand how you can monetize that talent. And so just thinking about the big picture of where that education can land you is really important. Also, understand that college is a means to gain information. It's not a ticket to automatic success, right? That degree allows you to be in the talk track, but what you bring to the table personally is more important than the actual degree itself, right? The degree gets you a ticket to the game, but you got to be able to play the game as well. And so combining what you learned from college into the career that you decide to go is really important. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I chose a major that I could relate to and not just, check the box and push through. And so business is broad enough where I knew that I can navigate through it. But it was hard because I, unlike a lot of young people, did not know what I wanted to do at all when I entered college. I just knew it was kind of a stepping stone and would help me be successful. But I didn't find myself until junior year. And so for young people, if you can figure that out earlier, fantastic. If not, stay diligent, talk to a lot of people, and understand what that degree or what field of study, what that looks like longer term by talking to people that have been through it for sure.
I totally agree with you. Thank you again, Ramsey, so much for being on this interview today. I think students will be able to get a lot of good lessons and advice out of this and be able to see. It's really cool to see how much you've grown within the same company and how much you've learned having 3 majors in college. No matter where you're at in life, it's just so cool to see what lessons you learn. Some people learn them earlier, some people later.
Yeah.
But no matter what, it's always a good thing to learn them.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is, and I was terrified to quote unquote fail.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the best life lessons that I've learned is when I got knocked down. And how you respond to that is really critical to what the future looks like. If you don't take failure as a learning experience and, okay, what did I do wrong or what could I have done differently to have a different outcome, and then put pieces in place so that you fulfill that outcome next time, versus I'm a failure, therefore I'm not good enough. And then that mindset just will push you in the wrong direction. But understanding that you failed because you pushed yourself beyond your comfort bubble is a positive thing. So life lessons is nothing more than teaching moments, and they may feel like failures in the moment, but just taking note of what you've learned and then expanding on that is probably a lesson I wish I learned a lot earlier in life. And now I just don't ever see anything as a failure, but a learning moment, and that's huge.